Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of third person series. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to set up shooting mechanic in Unreal Engine 5. Alright, first I'm going to add an input. So from edit tab, I open project settings, and from input section, I create an action mapping input and I name it shoot. And for key binding, I select left mouse button. Alright, now I open my character blueprint. In this case is BP underscore third person character, and here inside my aim dash shoot graph, I open it up. Here I right click and add input that I just created. Alright, now I get my is aiming boolean, which shows that my character is in aiming state or not, and then I add a branch node because I want my character to be able to shoot only when it is aiming, and connect it to here. Now I create another boolean variable and I name it is attacking. Alright, now I drag and get a setter of this boolean, and here I set it to true, and for released I set this boolean variable to false. Now I get my weapon system component, a component that holds all of functionalities related to my weapon blueprints. Now I drag a node and search for in-hand weapon, which is the weapon that is held in hand of my character, and it is equipped by character. Now I drag a node and search for an is valid node in type of macro. This is valid node with question mark, and connect it here, and I also get another is valid node here and connect it to this one. Okay, now I compile, and now I'm going to create some events inside my master weapon blueprint. So I open up my master weapon blueprint, and inside of my master weapon, which is master class of all of my other weapons, I'm going to create two custom events. I name first one start fire, and the second one end fire or a stop fire. Alright, now from a start fire event, I drag a node and add a sequence node, and here I right click and search for a gate. Now I connect this then zero execute to open, and this one to enter. Alright, and I also connect this stop fire event to close. Now I get my weapon extract, and now drag a node and search for brick weapon extract, and I want to check that my current ammo is greater than 0, because I can shoot only when I have ammo in my mag, otherwise I can't shoot. So I get a greater node and check it is greater than 0. Now I drag a node from here and add branch node, and now here I'm going to create a reference to my character. Here I have this event interact, which is used for interacting with objects, and here I right clicked on this input and promote it to a variable and connect it here and here. And now from here I connect it to, okay, now I drag a node from here and search for cast to third person BP, third person character, which is my character and my character blueprint, and I connect it here and I promote this one to a variable and I name it character ref. So now I have a reference to my character. Okay, now I go back to my start and stop fire events. Here I get my interactor and drop it here, and from this true part of this branch, sorry, I drag and drop it here. Now from this branch I'm going to add a line trace by channel. Alright, and here now I need a location for a start and another location for end. So I'm going to create another function and I name it a start and end. Alright, first I get my character reference variable. I drag a node and search for follow camera, get follow camera, and here I drag a node and search for get word location, and also get word rotation, and here I drag a node and search for get forward vector, and I'm going to drag a node and add a node, add this one to this one, and here I add two outputs in type of vector. This one is a start and this one is end. Alright, I place it here and I connect this one to a start output, and also for end I get a copy of this word location and word location here, and I connect them both to this flow camera, and here again I get forward vector, and now I'm going to multiply it. I add a multiply node, and now I right click on this input and I convert it to float. Okay, now I promote this float input to a variable and I name it range, and it is actually the range of my weapon. And as you know, this is the master weapon class, and it is master class of all other weapons. And you can now you have a float variable in name of range in all of weapon blueprints, weapon classes, and you can specify different ranges to each of your weapons. Okay, now here I drag a node and add this one to this one, and now I connect it to end. Okay, now I compile. Now I go back to my event graph. I get my start end function. I set this pure to true, so now I have a pure function. And as you may know, that pure functions don't have these execution pins, and they won't be part of the workflow. They only have inputs and outputs. So here I connect a start to a start and end to end. And for trace channel, I'm going to create a new custom trace channel. So I open project settings from edit tab, and in collision sections, as you can see here, I have trace channels. I click on new trace channel and I name it weapon trace. Alright, and for default response, I set it to block and I click on accept. Now I close project settings, and here in trace channel section I select weapon trace. And for weapons actors to ignore, I'm going to use this interactor variable. I drag a node and search for make array, and I connect it here. For draw debug type, I set it to for duration. Alright, now I'm going to create another function inside my master weapon class, and I name it gun effects. And I'm going to use this function for applying for all of the effects like animations, VFX, and sound of weapon, sound effect of weapon. Okay, now I drag a node and search for play sound 2D, and here I can apply sound effects to my shooting functionality, and I'm going to promote this input to a variable. So now I can add different sound effects for different weapons, and I name it weapon sound. Alright, and I can also change this to an array. I set array and wait for this transformation to be done. Now I drag a node and search for random array item, and I connect it here. So for every weapon now I can add multiple sound effects to an array, and each time I shoot a random item from this array will be played. Okay, now I get my character reference, and here I add play any montage, and this one is actually my shooting animation, and I also promote this input to a variable and I name it shooting animation. And here inside this weapon folder I have this sound effects, this one rifle sound and pistol sound effect, and also I have some animations for shooting. This one is aiming. Okay, I should import them, but I have prepared some animations for shooting. I think they are here. Okay, fire rifle. Okay, this animation I'm going to use for my rifle shooting. Okay, now after this any montage, I'm going to get my weapon mesh here. I get it here, and now I drag a node and search for play animation. Right now I don't have any animation asset for weapon, but you can, if you have some animation for your weapons, for example a sliding movement of weapon, you can add to this input, and I also promote this one to a variable and I name it weapon anim. Okay, alright, now I'm going to add some VFX for my muzzle flash. So here I drag a node and search for play emitter at location. Sorry, before that I should first get my character reference, and now get my weapon system component, and here I get my in-hand weapon. Alright, now I get my weapon mesh, get weapon mesh, and okay, here I search for play I'm sorry, a spawn emitter at location. Sorry, a spawn emitter at location. Alright, now I'm going to prepare some, for example emitter template, but I can also promote this one to a variable and I name it muzzle VFX. Okay, and here inside my content folder, from this starter content, I have this particle, this explosion effect. Now I'm getting a copy of this, and I get a copy of this inside this folder, and here I open it up. Okay, I have this one is explosion. Okay, now I delete this one. Alright, here I have this shockwave, I delete it. I also delete this smoke and a spark, and I only need Okay, also I delete a spark. Alright, I have this one. I save it and I rename it to muzzle flash. Okay, now I go back to my master weapon blueprint, and here I have my weapon mesh, and I drag a node and search for get socket location. Alright, now I should create a socket inside my weapon mesh to use it for spawning emitter. As I showed you in previous episodes, I'm using this FPS weapon bundle inside this full mesh K47. This is exactly the mesh that I'm using for my AK weapon class. So, and this one is a skeletal mesh. Here in skeleton assets, I have this bone, this one, big gun muzzle flash bone. So here I right click and click on add socket, and I name this socket, for example, muzzle, and I copy the name, go back here and paste it here, and I also set a scale to 0.2 and 0.2. Alright, now I compile and go back to my character blueprint, and here I drag a node from my in-hand weapon and I search for a start fire message, connect it here, and also here I search for end fire. A stop fire, sorry, and connect it here. Alright, now I compile and close them all. Now I open one of my weapon classes, for example from assault rifle folder, I open this AK-47. Here I have weapon name, variable, weapon enumeration, weapon class, also mag size. I set, for example, mag size to 30, and also current ammo to 30, and here I have, for example, this range, and I set it to 10,000. Okay, now for sound effect, sorry, okay, for weapon sound I have an array. I add one item here and search for my rifle sound. This one is enough because I have only one rifle sound effect, but if I had more I could add more items to this array and add more sound effects, and one of them will be played randomly. For shooting animation I get this rifle iron sight, rifle fire rifle iron sight montage, this one. And for weapon animation, as I told you, I don't have any weapon animation. And for VFX I search for this muzzle flash. Alright, now I compile and now open my master weapon class. And here I have this line trace by channel. I drag a node and search for brick hit result, and I also drag a node from here and search for select, this one, and here I connect true to impact normal and false to trace end. And now I get my gun effect function connected here, and I open my gun effect function, and here I should add some inputs. First one, I name it does hit. Second one, I name it impact point. In type of vector. And third one, I name it trace end, again in type of vector. Okay, now I compile and go back to event graph. Now here I connect this one to trace end, and I connect this impact point to here. Alright, and also I connect this one to here. Okay, now we compile and I run the game. As you can see here, I can pick up weapon, and alright, I have this line traces, and as you can see, this crosshair that I created in previous episode works fine. Exactly shows the end of the line trace. It means that shootings are accurate, and also this muzzle flash and sound effect works perfectly. Alright, I think it is enough for this episode and this part, and in the next episode I'm going to add more and more functionalities to this shooting system. Alright, if this tutorial was useful for you, please like this video and subscribe my channel, and thanks for watching.